Welcome back to the Advent of Cintran 2025. Today is day 9. Looks like I'm live. Let me check my audio. Alright, everything seems to be working. So, we are 2/3 of the way done with Advent of Code this year. If I finish both parts tonight, we will be 3/4 of the way done. So, day 8, yesterday, was kind of grueling. So that means Eric should give us a break tonight, right? He should take it easy on us. Hopefully we have an easy problem after the hard problem yesterday. Or will it just be even harder? Time will tell. We've got just under a minute and a half until the puzzle unlocks. I've got all my scripts ready to go. I kind of start the stream later and later. I think day 1 I was starting like at least 5 minutes early. But the last couple days I've been starting 2.5 minutes before the puzzle unlocks. And I end up with this dead space where I don't know what to talk about before the puzzle unlocks. But starting like less than 2.5 minutes early, it makes me nervous. Like, what if something with the stream goes wrong? What if like I just notice I'm logged out? Like a little bit of buffer time just for safety. And if you're watching on YouTube, you can always fast forward. Although at this point you can only fast forward about 20 seconds. Ten seconds. Here we go. Fire pole. $496 lines of input. I guess this is my test input. So that should just echo the test. This is day 9. Alright, what are we doing? Movie theater tile floor. It's like a game of life. Probably not. Red tiles. So the list is the tiles that are red. Is it zero-based indexing? Yes. So we have 1s here, and we have nothing on an edge. So the edge must be 0. Find the largest rectangle possible. Is that all? Are there any catches? Are there any gotchas? I only have 496 inputs. Part 1 seems easy, unless I'm missing something. Alright, so we have another matrix that we can just load with a helper function. Just debating what to name that XY variable. Did XYZ yesterday, so XY seems logical for today. You can still debate the merits of that variable name. That looks awful. What the hell is that? Oh, not read care mat, read I32 mat delim, and the delimiter is a comma. Should be integers with just 2 columns. There we go, that's better. All right, I guess it doesn't really matter what the size of the grid is. So we're gonna do a double loop. Unique pairs only. So this loop is just gonna go up to I. Did I get n right? It should be like 10, I don't know. 8 sounds close enough. So area is going to be the difference plus 1. Product abs. You can just do the abs out here. XY J. A lot like the math from yesterday. What is the test input? Wrong type. How big are the numbers, by the way? 5-digit numbers, not astronomically large. I think I can safely cast the area down to I32. Well, it's already being casted, but I have to cast it up because sum is I64. That's just in my template. It should be off by 1. So I should add 1 to both. No, I have to do the abs inside. Abs plus 1. 50. There we go. Let's do the real input. This might be one of the easiest part 1s yet, if I haven't messed anything up. Oh, that's very close to overflowing. May have in fact overflowed. So let's cast this up. And then I shouldn't have to cast that. That's a much different number. Come on, man. 30 seconds. I was only wrong once. Do I really need to cool down? There doesn't seem to be a lot to it for part 1. That's got to be like 25 seconds at least. I think that might be 30 seconds. 1 second. 1 second. All right. Just a little overflow issue. Before and after it. So these share x coordinates. These share y coordinates. Okay, so we never have diagonal lines. Yeah. All the tiles inside the loop are green. All the X's are green. Okay. And the hashes are red. I don't have any ideas of how to do this. I think we had a problem another year where it was just find the area of all the X's and hashes. And I knew how to do that. There's like the shoelace formula or the shoelace algorithm or something. And I already knew about that, so that was not a hard problem for me because I just got lucky. But this... So we can iterate through all the rectangles that we had from part 1. We can get all these areas, but how do we check that they are inside of this shape? And how do I even draw this shape? So you could have some funny shape. Like, it's not enough to just check the corners. You can imagine you could have some weird shape that loops around and hits this point, but not not all of the points inside the rectangle from here to here. So you can't just check the 4 corners. You have to check every point inside of here and make sure it's a green tile. And I'm not even sure. Is this like rendering a font? Do I have to render a font to do this? Oh god, I might. The winding algorithm. I don't want to have to do that. That's the hard way. Might not do part 2 here tonight. I'll sit and think about it for at least 20 minutes, I think. Oh. Is font rendering the way to go? What is the size of our domain here? They're 5-digit numbers. Well, let's take part 1 and at least copy it to part 2. Uncomment this function call. Okay, so what are the bounds of the problem that we're working with? that right? We're going to get the max too, but I want to see if I get this correct. Well, that's not a huge range. It's only 300. I think I can just render this whole well, wait, well, that's not a range. I need to get the max. Max, 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 max. And minval and maxval are just built into Syntran. Okay, so what are these ranges? Yeah, that's kind of big. So this is effectively 0. So what's like 99,000? 99,000 squared. That's pretty big. That's a billion. I could... How much RAM do I have? I have 16 gigabytes and I'm using 13 just for browsers and OBS. I think I could fit like a whole Boolean grid. I could definitely fit a whole Boolean grid in memory. And if I need to, I don't know. Could I make a set of just the green pixels and put those in memory too? Just need the area. Let's give it a shot for the test input. Let's see if we can just mark all of the red and green tiles and print it out. Yeah, the min is effectively 0, so I might just want a grid that goes from 0 to the max. We're going to have a character grid. Dots, I guess. NX by NY. And we'll do it like that. So let's print that first of all. Okay, I actually can't allocate that. 231 billion? Am I using 8-byte bools or 4-byte bools? Well, strings. Let's try it on the test input, and then maybe I can go from strings. Yeah, because strings are containers. It might only be one character, but it needs the size too of every string. And I don't actually have a character type in Syntran. I only have a string type. So this will only work for debugging. Okay, here's a grid. Let's put in the red tiles first of all. G, XY, 0i, XY, 1i equals hash for red. Okay, so those are the red tiles. Is this like transposed or anything? I think this is the same shape. Yeah, it seems to be the same shape. The same coordinate convention that Eric uses. Not that your coordinate convention even matters at all for this problem. You can flip it, transpose it, you'll get the... We're just looking for areas, so that's not going to change if you make any simple transformation like that. Okay. Can we put the green tiles in this grid? So what we're going to do is, first of all, we can render all the horizontal lines. So we can fill in these three, we can fill in these guys, we can fill in these guys, and fill in this guy. That's the easy part. Even the other part's not that bad now that I'm thinking about it. Then you're going to scan across each line. And whenever you hit in between a vertical line going from this hash down to this hash, if we're scanning along here, we hit this line and we flip a boolean on, and then we start filling in these pixels. And then if you imagine this grid keeps extending to the right, we hit another vertical line going down from there, and then we flip this boolean that we're using to track a state off, and then we stop filling in pixels after that. So that's basically how font rendering works, but it works with like Bezier splines instead of straight lines. And I know this because I've done a font rendering project in Fortran. Well, I mean, that's how I did it. Maybe there are more sophisticated algorithms, but yeah. I can do that. Can I fit it in memory for part 2? That's going to be the tricky part. And you could always like recalculate that on the fly if you can't save this for the whole grid. You could like make a little rectangle going from this hash to that hash and then iterate over every point in your rectangle. It might not be efficient, but it would trade memory for runtime at least if you're limited by memory. And I think I might be able to fit this in memory because I can't do a string matrix, but a Boolean matrix, I think my data structures in Syntran are 1 byte per Boolean for arrays, at least. So I might be able to fit this in memory. I might have to like close my browsers to free up RAM, but it might be possible. What was it, like 2 billion? That's 2 gigabytes. It was 99,000 squared. Oh, it was only 1 billion. That's like 1 gigabyte and change. Yeah, like that should be doable. Okay, let's try to fill in the green tiles. I guess let's do the horizontal lines first. So we're going to loop through every point. Let's call this I naught. And then mod n. Let me make sure I did that modular arithmetic correctly. So we have 0 to 1, 1 to 2, and then at the end we wrap back around to the beginning, so 7 back to 0. At least in 0-based indexing. Okay, now we want to check if it's a horizontal line, they would have the same x coordinates. So if it's not horizontal, we can just continue to the next loop iteration. XY I naught, and then x1 of the other point. And then we're going to render every green tile between these points. And they should have I want to check there are never diagonal lines, so I can just do that. And then we're going to fill in the green tiles. So G from X, we can do +1. I'm not going to like overwrite the red tiles. And then up to X1 not inclusive. Those are all going to be, did they use X's? Yeah, I'll use uppercase X's here. And that should render my horizontal. Oh, I might have, I have to do min versus max because I missed these ones because they're going in the opposite direction. I don't want to have to do swapping logic. I think I have to do swapping logic. Is there like a fast way to do this without too many lines of code? I guess not. X not greater than x1, we're going to swap okay, that should fill in the ones going the other direction now. All right, now I have rendered all of my horizontal lines. Now I will use the scanline algorithm to fill in all of the other ones. I wanted to do the horizontal ones because then I don't have to worry about like literal edge cases where you're scanning along and you hit this edge. Like, do you render these or not? Now I don't have to worry about that. I only have to worry about midpoints that are in the middle of a line, not points that are on the boundary of a line. Okay, so I probably want to save a list ahead of time of the vertical lines and then do the rendering after that. Wow, that was hard to type. It's going to be 2 by n. And n let. What is n? I think n is just n in the worst case scenario. Although it's probably going to be like half that many. So we're just going to have some that are unused. And we're going to have another loop like this, except we're going to do only vertical lines. Does it need to be 3 by n? Because I want like the start y, the end y, and the x coordinate. So now I need both y coordinates. All right. And then still want to swap like that. And now I want to save my vertical line. So VRT, this row is going to be X, and then the start Y and the end Y. And what is X? Well, X should be the same for these 2 points, so it's just going to be like that. And then we increment the number of vertical lines. And then we trim. And then we print this. It should show me where all of my vertical lines are. So we should have one going from here to here. And they should all be going in the positive y direction. So what was my convention again? I have x, then y naught, then y1. So we have 1 at 11, and it goes from 1 to 7. We have 1 at 9, it goes from 5 to 7. We have 1 at 2, it goes from 3 to 5. We have 1 at 7, it goes from 1 to 3. I think those... Did I get this one? Yeah, 9. X equals 9, y from 5 to 7. I think I got it. Can I just count them? 1, 2, 3, 4. I have 4 rows. Okay, that seems correct. Now we have to render everything on the inside of this. Okay, so we're going horizontally in the outer loop, horizontally in the inner loop, and then from top to bottom in the outer loop. So I want to start my state as false. How many vertical lines do I have? Maybe I want to sort the lines by x coordinate. I don't think I'm going to worry about that optimization. So this is our state. And I'm going to set my state here, actually. Maybe I'll nest this or indent this. So I initialize my state, and then I'm going to potentially flip it on every pixel. So, first of all, the easy part, if inside, we're going to render a tile. So g xy equals capital X, and that should do nothing so far because we're not setting the state at all. That does nothing. Okay. Now we want to check if we're on one of the vertical lines. If not any, what is my convention? X is first. So I want to look at the X coordinate. If I'm not on any of the vertical lines, then I can continue. If I am, then I want to figure out which vertical line I'm on. And this is the part where sorting could help you do this efficiently. First of all, any already implicitly scans this entire array to check if any X is equal to one of these slices. And now I'm going to manually scan again to figure out which slice it's equal to. So this is going to print a fair number of things. We're going to hit lines 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm not checking the Y condition. So it's going to print a lot more than 6 times, actually. Okay, so we have, let's just look at the last one. At x equals 11, we found the vertical line with an x coordinate of 11. Now I also have to check the y coordinate. If y is less than the start y coordinate, continue, and if y is greater than the end coordinate. So now I should print 6 times. Seems like more than 6. $11.7. It's equal to, yeah, or equal. I want to continue because I've already rendered the horizontal lines. I don't have to handle the endpoints here or the boundary points. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I'm still printing too much. Oh, yeah, every one of these points gets hit. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, that seems plausible. So at this point, we flip the state. I might need two states to handle the right edge case. Or toggle state. Maybe toggle is a better word than flip. Okay, yeah, so I've missed the start points. I got... Oh, shit. Yeah, now this is an edge case. Fuck. Man, how did I do this? Like, I know how to fix these. You just set the state immediately when flipping to true. But how do I fix this and this? Those are the tricky ones. So do I have to handle the horizontal lines too somehow? Or can I go up to like a super grid where I perturb this by like half an integer? Or what if I can do the start point but not the end point? Can I do something like that? Oh, that's a nice hack. Okay. Let me give myself some buffer. To see if I turn things off when I leave the right side. Okay, that looks basically correct, and now I just have to handle these ones. These ones should be easier to fix. Even the last thing was not hard to fix, but I feel like I just got lucky. All I had to do was, where is it? Just had to change the greater than or equal to greater than. Now, if we just flipped it to true, we're going to do this again. I think we just have to do it twice. All right, there we go. Now I've overwritten some of the red tiles with green tiles. That's okay. I don't really care if they're red or green. I don't care about the distinction between red and green. Now I have marked these points, and now I can do rectangles. And I can somewhat efficiently... Yeah, like how expensive is this part going to be? For every rectangle, I have to check if every one of the points inside the rectangle is activated like this. So, we could do this for part 1. I just don't know how well it's going to scale for part 2. Or if I even have enough memory for part 2. Okay, so we were getting 50. do this a little bit differently. I don't want to deal with the swapping logic, so I'm just going to do min of x, y, 0, I, comma, j. You can slice arrays like this in Syntran. This is a very nice feature. You can use another array as subscripts. That's basically what you're doing with a colon, but there are several syntactic sugars that you can do. Like you can just permute an array by giving it some set of subscripts there. High is going to be max, and then I want the y's as well. This is just 1 now. Now I have to iterate and carefully do inclusive of the high bounds and check if every one of the points in this rectangle is inside. Let me see if I can just get the area using do I get the same area? It should be +1 for both. Should still be 50. Oh, I actually want val because this is an array. It's not two scalars because of the way I sliced it. And then, yeah, these are going to overflow again. So let's just make that one I64. Okay, we still get 50. Now I just have to check if everything is inside. So, if any g x low through x high +1 and y low through y high +1, if any of those are dots, part of the rectangle is outside. So we should get something less than 50 now. 24 is that. 24, that's right for the test input. Now, first of all, I don't have enough memory to do this. If I try to allocate a string array, remember, I don't have character types, I have string types. So every one of these characters has 1 byte for the character, and then also, I actually don't know how Fortran handles this, either a 32 or a 64-bit integer for the length of the string. And if you try to allocate a 99,000 by 99,000 grid of strings, I just don't have enough memory for that. But if I switch it to bytes to track this state, I might be able to do this instead. Okay. And the other thing is, like, does this shape ever loop around and intersect itself? Because I'm not going to handle those either. I hope it's just well behaved and it doesn't do that. So if I try to do the real input, it's just going to fail to allocate enough memory and crash. Right? Can't allocate 200 billion bytes. So let's go back to the test input. Let's copy a backup of what we have so far. And let's try to refactor this to use a byte array instead of a string array. First of all, can I just allocate the memory? Well, yeah, it's not going to parse because I'm doing stuff with strings. So let me just comment out all of this. Can I allocate these bytes for the real problem? It's thinking. I think it can allocate. But what is it actually doing? I think it's still allocating. Oh yeah, and my memory is going up. I might crash my stream here. So sorry if my stream just abruptly ends. Maybe killed. Why? Did I manually kill this? Let me close my browsers, I guess, because those take up a decent amount of memory. I'm going to close chat too. So sorry if I missed chats after this. Maybe I can still see it in the OBS preview. Yeah, I still don't have enough RAM to do this. Why, it's just bytes. Oh, yeah. I was getting my Christmas card ready this year, and I found this picture that I used last year for my Christmas card, so enjoy that. Close that too. I'm just gonna close like everything that I can. I kind of want to keep Task Manager open. That shouldn't use too much memory, right? All right, I'm down to like 7.5 gigabytes of RAM usage. Maybe Syntran uses 4-byte 4-byte bulls. You can see the RAM just spikes when I try to run this. So the other thing, seems like I don't have enough memory. Let's go ahead with the refactoring here. I don't like that, but I'm gonna do it. Okay. It's hard to tell because true has fewer characters than false, but this vaguely looks like the correct shape. And that should wrap now. Okay. I think that's the correct shape. So the other thing that I could do is these true locations are only a subset of the whole area of the grid. So I could, instead of saving the whole matrix, I could just put the true ones into a set. It might not actually use less memory because there's overhead for the set. So that could backfire. The other thing that I could do is I could redo the scanline algorithm on the fly for every rectangle that I process. Now that's going to trade memory for runtime. So that could also just make this run extremely slowly. I don't know what to do. It's almost 1 a.m. Maybe I should just call it here and go to bed. Or try closing OBS and see if that saves enough RAM for me to just do this without changing my code at all. Is there anything else that I'm allocating? I can subtract off like a few thousand from the min, but then I have to shift everything by the min. I don't really want to do that. Where does it crash? I had an exit here and it crashed before it got to the exit. So that's fine for the test input. Like it never actually allocates. Array types, array type, value. Where do I define array? So my Boolean arrays, Fortran calls bools logicals. It's kind 1. That means these are supposed to be 1 byte. Like, theoretically, I should have enough memory to do 1 billion bytes. That's a gigabyte. And I have 8 gigabytes free right now. So I don't really understand why that's not working. So my grid is like 99,000. And 99,000 is... that's like 1 billion. 1,211,065,408. That's 1 billion and change. But I should have enough memory to do 1 billion bytes. I honestly don't know why. Wait. Yeah, my arrays should be fairly lightweight. Because like one array value, this is the Syntran source code, by the way. I'm looking to remember like how much memory should this use. It has like the bounds and the steps of slices, or these are for implicit arrays. So like these are all scalars. So there's some overhead there. And then you also have a pointer for every potential type, but all of these allocatable things, allocatable is basically Fortran for pointer. Oh, hey, Connie. Sorry, I don't have chat up. I'm running out of memory here for part 2. So I closed all my browsers and I closed chat, but I do still see chat in OBS. So welcome back to the stream. Sorry if I'm like a few minutes late on noticing your chat. I have something that I think should work. And now there are like other things that I could do, but it's getting late. It's 1 a.m. here. I'm thinking this should just work. It's like all of these are pointers. There should be low overhead there. Like the only thing that really takes up space in the memory is the actual type that you're using. So 1 billion booleans should just take up 1 gigabyte because each of these, each entry of this array is 1 byte. Maybe G-Fortran doesn't actually do that. When I try to run this, my memory just spikes and then the program dies. No problem. This is like very small text in my OBS preview. Oh, you got up early enough to catch me. Oh, yeah. Time zones are hard. So what else is using memory? OBS, less than a gigabyte. Antivirus. Like, there's not one big program that I can kill. I already closed my browsers. It's just like a bunch of little programs using a few hundred megabytes. This should just work. That's what I'm mad about. Like, I shouldn't have to change my code. I could try making a set. I feel like that might be easier than redoing the scanline algorithm on the fly for every point that I need to check. So let me make a backup again. Let's go back to the test input. And let's make a set of coordinates that are inside, that are either red or green tiles. This could backfire. I don't know if this will actually save memory. What kind of dictionaries do I have implemented here? I have strings and I have integers. And those are the type of the value. My value just needs to be a bit, a 0 or a 1. Set at 1 for things that are inside. So I could use I64, and the key of all of my dictionaries is always a string. So I think I can go with the I64 one. So it passes the set by reference. My set is really a dictionary. I don't have sets, I just have dictionaries that I can use like a set. The key, I'm just going to concatenate the coordinates as strings. And set it to 1, meaning inside. So I have errors at line 67. If this doesn't work, I think I have to go to bed. I don't think I have enough time to try like too many alternative approaches. Set here, it's going to be, oh, I have to iterate for this. X local in x naught plus 1 through x1. Set string xl and y 1. Is that okay so far? We're good up until line 128. All right. want to be careful that I'm doing this correctly. x0 plus 1 through x1. Did I set this one correctly? xy. I think that's okay. Now this one is different. This is xy. Close paren. And basically the same thing here. Comment that out. Don't really need braces, but when you start commenting things, it gets confusing. So I'm adding braces for these if bodies, if blocks. Can't really print anything now. And now this one's going to be annoying. So set string xy equals 1. Or and if not break, if not break, if not continue. Okay, it's much nicer when you can just use arrays in an array-oriented language. This is the set or hash map version. Is that going to give me the right answer? Okay, it's still the right answer for the test input. Now, will this, does this even save memory? I don't actually know. And it's also going to be slower because it's now using hash maps instead of arrays. Memory is not going completely crazy yet. I hope this works. I think I want more logging so I can tell where this is. This is doing like a lot of hash map operations now. How much time should I give this before I kill it and add logging? I'm thinking 30 seconds. As of like 10 seconds ago. The memory is holding very steady. So that's good. So I guess like the green tiles take up a very small subset of the entire area in this problem. Okay, I think I have to add logging. And let's hope that maybe by the time I add logging, this just finishes running. Part 2. So we're printing stuff up here. Wherever I have a comment, marking red tiles, and then marking horizontal lines. And then getting vertical line list. It's really an array, not a list, but let's call it a list. And then scan lines. And then finally, checking rectangles. Oh my god, what did that just print? Those are the vertical lines. It took a long time just to get to the vertical lines. Should I keep this running? Like it's not using a lot of memory and it's single threaded, so I can just run 2 at a time. Train. I keep making that typo now because I'm thinking main. Yeah, just putting things in the set takes a long time. And then it repeats a lot of this for every rectangle. Even though it breaks early as soon as it finds one thing that's outside. Like this might not even be there yet. So we started this at basically right on 110. What I want to sort by, I would want to sort these by X to optimize this part, because I'm scanning the whole thing every time, but we're not even there. We are still on horizontal lines. And the only expensive part here is just putting things in the set. Oh, it's rendering scan lines. There are like 400. I should be able to tell by scrolling, roughly. Yeah, out of 400 points in the input, about half of those are vertical lines. So I have like 200 lines, maybe 250 of vertical line output here. So like you could optimize this by sorting, but it only has to go through 200 or 300 every time. So I feel like this isn't that bad. I don't know. It's hard to tell whether this is the bottleneck or whether hash map operations are the bottleneck. Well, this code doesn't have to be optimized if it already fits the constraints given. Yeah. If it takes like 24 hours to run though, that's kind of a dead end. In embedded dev, the initial optimization is a pain with very limited resources. Oh, I don't remember if you told me that you did embedded before. If you did, I forgot. I want to get Google Chrome opened up again, because I have enough memory for this. How's everybody else doing here? So like the big nerds have gotten part 2. But a lot of people are still chugging along on part 2. So I'm not alone here. This is probably the hardest day yet. It's been years. Wow, I forgot it's been that long. I thought you might have checked in at least once last time I did Adventicode. So this was 24. And I think I was getting that right for the test input. So I was getting 24 for the test input, and that is correct. Around a year ago, you did a few months completely off the internet. Oh, that's hardcore. Let me get my pop-out chat going. There we go. Now I don't have to squint quite as much. I think if this isn't done by 1:20, I think I have to call it, because I do have to work tomorrow. I can't stay up till 2 a.m. on this. And my other idea, I think V1 is the array version. V1, I still had a Boolean array. My other idea is close OBS. But OBS... OBS is using less than 1 gigabyte. So I don't think that's going to materially change very much. Just close as much as I can and see if I can run the array version. I'm not hopeful. I think I need a different computer. It should work. I'm surprised that it doesn't. It's just a Boolean. A billion Booleans. But the interpreter is not efficient. So there's a right-hand side here, and then there's the variable that you're assigning it to. Yeah, give it a try after ending the stream. Yeah, I think I will, just to see if that'll work. So the interpreter, I think it does a gigabyte for the right-hand side, and then at some point it's copying that into the variable that you're setting. So at some point, like, there are actually 2 gigabytes that are in use, at least. Maybe it's even worse than that. Maybe I'm just a terrible programmer. After that, upfront thing, I think it should be okay because we're only setting like one scalar at a time. And you might have copies of a scalar, but it's not copies of a gigabyte. And I do some slicing, but it's a relatively small slice of the array. Should have put extra printing inside here. I thought it would get through this loop quickly, and then I thought that checking rectangles would be the bottleneck, but it's very slow sooner than I thought it would be. $120. Yeah. Like, even when it finishes this, it still has that next big loop to go. So, yeah, I think I have to call it. All right, well, I'll commit what I have. Day 9, part 1. Part 2 uses too many resources. All right, there it is. Yeah, I think I'm gonna have to call it now. Yeah, just let it run. I think I'll let it run. I'm actually worried now that if I'm letting these ones run while I start the memory hog, I don't know which one will get killed. Like the memory hog might also result in these ones dying, so I might not try that right now. But I'll let these ones run overnight, see what happens. All right, good catching up, Connie. Thanks to anybody else who tuned in. I appreciate it. And I will catch you next time. Bye.